Hey, this is Ailey. First, let me say I'm not a marriage counselor, so this video is just on my opinion and my thoughts and my views. So let's get on with the video. If we're going to build a house, where would you start to build a house? How would you begin to build it? Well, first we'd have to start with a foundation. But before we can use cement to have it poured for the foundation, we'd have to build a formation of where we wanted the cement to be poured. And in that formation, there's four corners. Just like in a marriage, there's four corners. We need a solid foundation for our marriage. And in that solid foundation, there will be four corners. So what would you put as your first cornerstone? Me, I would put love. Jesus said when they were trying to trick him and they asked him, which is the greatest commandment? Jesus responded and said, love your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And the second one is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. For these are the two greatest commandments. And the law and the prophets hinge on these two laws. So love is a big deal. And see, Paul tells us in Ephesians, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself for the church, and presented her spotless without a blemish by the washing of the word. So my first cornerstone would be love. What would your second cornerstone be? I would say trust. Trust is also a big issue, a big deal in a marriage. See, Solomon tells us in Proverbs 35, trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. I think there's times when in a marriage things will happen that we don't know why they're happening. We don't understand the issue that come up that we have to deal with. But just as Solomon said, trust the Lord and with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. We need to trust our wives or our husbands just as much. Just in that way. So what would you put as your third cornerstone? I would say respect. See, all throughout the Bible, it tells us to fear the Lord. And I don't think it always talking about fear the Lord as in trembling. I think it talking about sometimes about out of reverence, out of respect. We need to have respect for our spouse, one another. What would you put as your third cornerstone? I would say loyalty. Or another word that we could use for loyalty would be faithfulness. See, the Bible tells us that when we ask God for forgiveness, He is faithful and just to forgive us. We need to be faithful to one another. Yeah, for time's sake, right now we're going to have to cut it and come back to it and with the next post and we'll finish it up.